So my friend Eric in Colorado, shout out to Eric down 100 pounds. Go check out the Common Sense of War podcast that I did with him where he tells his story. Sends me this link. Check this out. Southwest Airlines celebrated for policy to give a full row to passengers of size for free. Says plus size travel expert and TikToker says, I hope to see more airlines implement customer of size policies. This is getting to be madness. As someone who has traveled for the better part of his business life, I've been on God knows how many airplanes. When I was 300 plus pounds, I made a point to do everything I could to put myself out because I couldn't fit in a seat comfortably. So I would sit down in the seat because I'm a big guy. And I'd sit down in the seat and my ass would have to push together to fit down into the seat. And of course, then my shoulders, because I got so much fat coming out underneath my shoulders, my hands, my arms would be out like this. And so I'd have to sit and I'd have to manipulate. You got to pull your fat forward to get your arm underneath of it and pull this fat forward. You ladies know exactly what I'm talking about. Pull this fat forward and sit with my arms like this. And then I would sit off to the right so that I gave this person enough room, always in the aisle. I'd always get in the aisle. And then I got to put up with people going back and forth hitting me. But that's my fault. That's on me. I have other significant issues wrong with me that are not my fault. 40% block in my left ventricle. I was born with it. It's genetic. There's nothing I could do about it. Popped up at 38 years old. It could have popped up at any moment. It chose to wait 38 years. Damnedest thing. But it happens. It happens every single day. There's nothing I could do. Nothing I could have eaten. Nothing I could have changed. I was in great shape when it hit me. There's nothing I could have done. Not my fault. I'm blind in my right eye. Right? Nothing I could do. I got a virus. It ate my retina. It ate most of the vision in my left eye. Thank God they were able to save enough of it. I can pop a contact in there. Couldn't be happier. 20/20 vision with contact in one eye. Nothing I could do about that. I broke my back. I was working. I fell off a forklift. I fell a full story onto cement and then had a freaking garbage can, a dumpster, a metal dumpster, fall on top of me and break my back. Right? 19 years old. Nothing I could do about that. Right? I guess it's a little bit my fault. I was up there, but I'm working. You get my point. Being gigantic, 300 plus pounds at 6'4", was my fault entirely. Being 350, 400 pounds, it's entirely something that we can do something about. It's like saying that someone who has cancer is the same thing as someone who is obese or someone who's overweight. We're not even talking about obese here. We're just talking about obese won't fit you in an airplane. But where this world is going, this is madness, people. We are killing ourselves. And we're disguising it like it's not our fault. We are eating ourselves like no other civilization in recorded history, eating ourselves into the grave. And we're not doing anything about it. There's no effort being put into it. In fact, quite the opposite. We are encouraging the behavior through this kind of madness. We think we're helping people, but we're not. We're hurting ourselves. And when you go through this story and you're reading about these people and what they're asking for, as if they have no responsibility for their own actions and their own behavior. And we get down to a plus-size travel expert and TikToker, Jaylyn Cheney, told Fox News Digital it was an important move to include people in the super fat category. Madness. This person here, it's madness to think that we need to make accommodations for them. And the world's changing. And New York and different cities, different states are passing laws equating this to other disabilities. I couldn't disagree more. It's easy to point out that these so-called disabilities don't exist in other countries and other civilizations, and certainly don't exist anywhere near the numbers that we do. We take more drugs than probably, I don't know this, but I believe it's pretty high and almost more than every other nation combined, relatively speaking. I know for sure depression drugs drug addiction, the causes and the cases here in the United States. I shouldn't say the causes, the cases in the United States, and the number of people who take them are off the charts. Of course, we know about taking statin drugs, for cholesterol and blood pressure drugs and every other kind of drug we are fed here in the West because we are being manipulated into doing that. And part of that manipulation is to look at the reasons and the causes for us to be on those drugs as being something outside of our control. How many drugs do you think this person is taking? How do you think she feels? And how long before we all get the notice that at 32 years, I don't even know how old she is. She looks to be, 35, 40 years old. However old she is, she will die young. But she's celebrated while she's alive as being something that she's not. So I'm reminded of a President Kennedy did a speech. Let me see if I can find it here. And the speech that he did was talking about the fat kids that we were dealing with. And this was in the early 60s. Now, in the early 60s, when I was a kid, there was always one fat kid in class. That's it, right? All of us that are my age remember there being a fat kid in the class. That's how rare they were, is that there was a fat kid in the class. And so even with that one fat kid, even with a single child, maybe two, maybe a school that had 15 or 20 tops, we were worried about it. My man's rolling over in his grave over where we find ourselves today. Here's what he said about it. This was 1962, if I'm not mistaken.
There is nothing, I think, more unfortunate than to have soft, chubby, fat-looking children who go to watch their school play basketball every Saturday and regard that as their week's exercise. I hope that all of you will join, and everybody in the United States, to make sure that our children participate fully in a vigorous and adventurous life which is possible for them in this very rich country of ours. There is
madness. And there wasn't a problem in the 60s. You didn't hardly know somebody with diabetes in the 60s, save for alcoholics. It was rare. It didn't happen. There weren't obese people anywhere near the level. There were fat people for sure, anywhere near the level that we have today. This is madness, people. We're killing ourselves. And we're killing ourselves while telling ourselves that it's not our fault. And now it's affecting the kids. We're going to have to come to grips with this, and I think we're going to have to get serious about it. That's what I think. Opportunities are everywhere. You got to go get them. Go for a walk.